Welcome to the course on dynamics of machinery, unit number 4, balancing. So in the last class we have seen the static and dynamic balancing, and also we have seen some numericals where we are balancing the single and the several masses in the single and in the several planes as well. So now here we will concentrate on primary and secondary balancing of reciprocating masses and its balancing for single cylinder engines. So let us consider generally the in case of balancing of reciprocating masses, the systems which includes are IC engines, then reciprocating compressors, reciprocating parts or the reciprocating components in case of pumps and the compressors mostly. So these are subjected to continuous acceleration and retardation. It means if I consider such a single Saturn crank chain mechanism, this is generally used in the IC engines or in the pumps or the compressors, which is a particularly reciprocating one. So we are having this particular piston which reciprocates into this particular cylinder, and whatever the motion of this is there. Okay, so when you are trying to move this particular piston towards right, so because of its mass, it will be offering inertia force in the opposite direction. Suppose in this case now you can see the direction of rotation is clockwise, so this particular piston will try to move towards right, so the inertia force will be in the opposite direction towards left. Okay, so this is nothing but causing an unbalanced force. This inertia force is going to cause the unbalanced force. So now we will try to see how you can calculate the magnitude of this particular inertia force or the unbalanced force, and how we can try to balance this. So in general, this particular system, if we consider, so let us mark that m is the mass of the reciprocating parts in kg. Okay, then omega is the angular speed of the crank, so omega with which it is rotating. R is the radius of this particular crank. L is the length of the connecting rod. So all these dimensions will consider in meters, radius and length of the rod, while omega is in radian per second and the mass is in kg. Okay, and n is nothing but the obliquity ratio, which is the ratio of L by R. So length of connecting rod divided by radius of this particular crank. And theta is the angle made by the crank with the idle position. So if it is at its his condition, it is idle position, and it is rotating by an angle theta clockwise from the zero. So this is your theta angle. And now I am going to mark this Fp as a notation for acceleration of the reciprocating parts. So F for the acceleration, P for the piston, because the reciprocating part is the piston here, in meter per second square, that is acceleration. And Fi is nothing but the inertia force due to reciprocating mass m. So in this kind of engines, actually if it is single cylinder engine, in that case it will be having only unbalanced force in its plane, but there is no unbalanced couple as such, only unbalanced force will be there. Okay, so now we will see how you can calculate the magnitude of that particular force. So to know the force, we have to know the acceleration. So we know that the acceleration of the reciprocating part is given by F is equal to omega square into r into cos of theta plus cos of 2 theta by n. So in theory of machines, actually the analysis of this mechanism is already studied. Therefore we are using this directly, the equation of acceleration of the piston, which is given by omega square into r cos of theta plus cos of 2 theta by n. So this is nothing but the inertia force due to reciprocating parts, that is Fi. So you just simply I am going to multiply this acceleration by mass. So mass into acceleration, so mass into acceleration, that is r omega square into cos of theta plus cos of 2 theta by n. So this is nothing but the total unbalanced force which is going to cause, and that is nothing but equal to the inertia force acting on this particular mechanism. So now this inertia force or this unbalanced force, total unbalanced force Fu, can be divided into the two forces. One is Fp and another is Fs. So it is primary force and secondary force. It means if I multiply this m omega square r, this inside this bracket, so I will be getting one term mr omega square cos of theta and mr omega square cos of 2 theta by n. So this first term I am going to call it as a primary force. Okay, and this primary force will be maximum at 0 degree and 180 degree. okay, because it is having variation with respect to cos. So generally a cos curve will be like this. So it is maximum at 0, okay, like this generally the cos curve. So here it is maximum at 0 and at 90 degree, sorry, at 180 degree, and at 90 degree it will be 0, this cos, because of the cosine variation of this particular force. Okay, so this is maximum over here, 0 degree and 180 degree, while this particular secondary force, if I take the double, since it is 2 theta over here, so double angle of that, so the secondary force will be maximum at 4 locations, so 0 degree, okay, 90 degree, 1 degree and 360 degree. At 4 different locations it will be a maximum force. So this unbalanced force acts along the line of stroke, and the direction is opposite to that of acceleration. So if the acceleration is in the downward direction, so this inertia force will be acting in the upward direction if there is a vertical engine, and if it is horizontal engine, in that case if your force is acceleration is towards right, so your inertia force will be towards left. Okay, so now we will see that the unbalanced force due to reciprocating mass varies in magnitude but constant in direction, and that is along the line of the stroke. So because of this cos theta term multiplied with this m omega square r, you will find out that this magnitude is changing continuously, and therefore we can say that it is varying in magnitude, but the direction is always constant and it is along the line of the stroke. So definitely a single mass cannot be used for balancing it, and hence partial balancing is done by using a single mass. It means suppose if we consider that instead of considering that particular mass over here, we will assume that this particular mass will act at this particular radius. So we can balance another mass by putting over here balancing mass on this side, but if I put the mass on this side, it will be balanced, but finally the direction of this force is along the line of stroke. It means component of this force along the line of stroke will get balanced, but in addition to that, an additional component of this particular force in the vertical direction will get introduced, and because of which we cannot do the complete balancing of it, and we have to go for the partial balancing. So unbalanced force due to rotating mass is constant in magnitude but varies in direction. That is what we have understood from this. So there is a basic difference between the rotating mass and the reciprocating mass, and that is, in this case the mass is varying and direction is constant, while in case of rotating mass the magnitude is constant and the direction is changing. Because if I consider simply some mass is rotating about this particular radius, okay, so its direction will be continuously changing. As the angle changes, the direction will be going changing, but for the reciprocating mass your direction will always along the line of stroke. That is what is the major difference in this. And now we will see that how we can try to balance. So suppose if I keep some mass over here, or if I assume that some mass or this particular reciprocating mass is acting over here, which will be producing the force of m omega square into r, whose component along the line of stroke will be m omega square r cos theta, okay, and perpendicular to the line of stroke there will be m omega square r sin of theta. That component will be there, okay. And now if I am going to put some mass over here, like mb mass is kept over here, so the force which will be introduced over here will be mb into omega square into rb, if rb is the radius of the balancing mass. So mb into omega square into rb into cos of theta. Now if I see that this particular force will be having two components, one is mb omega square rb into cos of theta. So okay, so since it is in the fourth quadrant, so there is one rightward component will be there along x direction, and downward component will be there in the y direction. So mb omega square rb into sin of theta, like these two components will be there. So whatever the force is here, m omega square r cos theta, that will be balanced by this particular force mb omega square rb cos of theta. So that is what is I have written here, mb omega square rb into cos of theta equal to m omega square r cos theta. So this is equated. It means now here omega square is common and that angle is also common. So MB into RB will be equal to M into R. Okay, this way it will get balanced. But the unbalanced force along the perpendicular direction to the line of stroke will get introduced. So you will find out here that since this will get balanced with this one, so there is no question, okay, that along the line of stroke that force is not there now. But there is a force which will be introduced over here, mb omega square rb sine of theta in the vertical direction. So this is nothing but the unbalanced force which will remain in the direction perpendicular to the line of stroke. Okay, it means we cannot actually we are not balancing, simply we have converted some quantity of horizontal force into a vertical force, and that same reaction will be going to act on the bearing. And therefore what we are doing is we are trying to make the partial balancing of it. So instead of putting that more mass over there, we are going to keep a fractional mass. So this mb into omega square into rb into cos of theta, this force will be equal to the fractional quantity c, okay, multiplied by m omega square r cos of theta, and definitely this c will be less than 1. So suppose sometimes you are going to balance it by 0.5 times, since c will be equal to 0.5. So we have to see that this mb into rb, this product will be equal to c into m into r. Okay, so the primary balancing force, so how much actually the force that you will balance out of it. So since you are putting this c into m omega square r cos theta, that much, so only this much force will be balanced, not 100% force. Actual total force is m omega square r cos theta multiplied by c. It means if I am using c as a 0.5, so only 0.5 or 50% of the force I am balancing along the line of stroke. And the unbalanced force due to partial unbalance, how much will be the remaining force in the vertical direction? So it will be actually the m omega square r cos theta. First of all, this is the unbalanced force along the line of stroke. So m omega square r cos of theta minus m omega square rb into cos of theta. So it is actually mb, means my balanced force. So this is nothing but balanced, and this is actually the force acting over that line of stroke. So difference of this will be nothing but equal to 1 minus c, because this is nothing but equal to c times m omega square r cos of theta. So if I put it like that, so it will be 1 minus c m omega square r cos of theta. So this much is the unbalanced force still they present along the line of stroke. And now in the vertical direction there will be a force which is equal to c m omega square r sine of theta. This is the force which will be present along the vertical direction. So it is multiplied by c multiplied by m omega mb omega square rb into sine of theta, this much. So in short, the resultant unbalanced force which will be there on this particular IC engine or maybe a compressor will be equal to resultant of Fh square plus Fv square. So vertical force and horizontal force, whichever is unbalanced remaining in the system, if I take the resultant of it, so it will be equal to m omega square r into under root 1 minus c square cos square theta plus c square sin square theta. Okay, and definitely I wanted to have this unbalanced force to become minimum. That means I should find out the value of the c, or that fraction, how much I can use. So for that, what I will do is I will differentiate this resultant force with respect to c, so dfr by dc, and I will equate it to 0, and I will try to get the value of this c. So what I will find is that if I use this condition for minimization of this unbalanced force, so I am getting the value of c as 1 by 2, that means 0.5. So maximum 50% of the unbalanced force we can reduce. It means still there will be remaining 50% force will always be there on that engines, and therefore you will always experience the vibrations in the IC engines. So we are going to stop here. So thank you very much.